Hey there, what's up, everybody? It's Dr. Shazetta. I hope you guys are doing well. So it's Vlogmas, and I am several days late because I think today is the 4th or the 5th. I think today's the 5th. Anyway, it's Vlogmas, and I'm late, but I have long wanted to try my hand at Vlogmas. And so even though I'm starting a couple of days late, I'm kicking off today, and I hope that that's okay with you all. So for this Vlogmas, I really am wanting to bring you all along for kind of my year in review, and it's also my kind of planning and pressing reset for 2026. And so what that has looked like for the last several weeks and what is continuing to look like is I am decluttering in spaces in my home. I am setting new rhythms. I am building new habits. I'm not waiting for 2026 to come in to start those habits. I'm building them now because I want to start 2026 kind of with a head start, if that makes sense. And 2025 has been a kind of challenging and tough year for me. It has been hard, but it has also been very, very rewarding. Um, I learned a lot of things about myself this year. There were a lot of things that were undone in me this year, and undone isn't always a comfortable thing, right? To come undone is not a comfortable thing, but what has been really powerful is after I have gone through like these little segments of seeing and acknowledging my brokenness or being broken, that the rebuilding process has and continues to be really, really rewarding. And so I want to bring you guys along for that. Today is Friday, and I am doing something that this time last year I didn't really know how to give myself permission to do. So it's a work day. I'm working from home. It's a snow day outside, but I am working from home and doing email and all the things that I need to do to wrap up my week strong. But I'm working from home. It's also day two of that time of the month for me, ladies. If you know, you know. And so I got up and got my son off for school this morning. My husband made me a great cup of coffee, and I am more than taking a slow morning, taking a slow day. I am doing the work that I need to do. I am making calls. I am sending emails. I am doing all the things that I need to do. I didn't schedule any meetings for today, just kind of circumstantially or coincidentally is what where I was trying to look for. There were no like in person or Zoom meetings scheduled today, so I can keep on my warm, fuzzy robe. Just to feel um, rested and to have a restorative experience even while I'm working. And this time last year, and certainly the year before, I didn't know how to give myself permission to have these sorts of days and these sorts of moments without feeling guilty, without feeling convicted or condemned or like I was letting someone else down. Like taking care of myself would oftentimes feel like it meant I was neglecting, right, others or neglecting the responsibilities in my life. And so today I'm doing the work that pays me, certainly for my job. Secondly, I am going to spend some time building a habit tracker that I want to try. I have a new notebook and a new ink pen that I want to try to build a habit tracker just to track some of the habits. I have been, once I complete my exercise for today, which I will do, I just didn't do it this morning. I will be at 4 weeks, 4 weeks of working out every day, Monday through Friday. And you all, that alone is a major feat. I don't think I've worked out that many days in my life, much less consistently and in a row. So I'm excited. And my reward for myself or to myself for doing that is I ordered a weighted vest to add to my daily exercise and to my body strengthening. Again, I've struggled in years past to exercise and really not had any motivation to do it consistently. And a part of it that I've learned this year is because I didn't value myself enough to strengthen myself. Um, and the health benefits, right, of exercising and working out are scientifically unquestionable, but the mental, emotional, spiritual part of this last 4 weeks is something that I could not have anticipated, something that I could not have expected. If someone had told me, I wouldn't have believed them. I mean, even yesterday on day 2 or day 1 of my cycle, in the morning, I just couldn't, my body just wouldn't let me do it. But I came home after a day of work and got this burst of energy because I was like, I've been doing this now for nearly 4 weeks straight, and I don't want to go back to day 1 again. And that wasn't because of anybody other than me. Like, this is an accomplishment for me. This is something I've done for me, not something I've done or stuck with anyway because anybody has made me feel guilty about it, because anybody has condemned me for it or for not doing it. And so, um, settling in, right, this latter now 20 some odd days of 2025 into doing things that are good for me, just for me, if that makes sense. That I've learned in this last year, certainly, that caring for self is not selfish. And so, what if it was? That in my mind, for years, I've been showing up well for others and almost not showing up at all for myself. And the times when I showed up seemingly well for myself, it was still for the benefit of others, never just for me. And that has been a really tough realization. Last night in Bible study, our pastor was taking us through, like, there were these really poignant questions, right, that she was taking us through, and we're asking ourselves about this past year. And y'all, by the time we got through those few questions, I was emotionally, mentally, spiritually exhausted because I was reminded of how difficult this year has been. But I also was overcome by the end with a great deal of gratitude because this year, standing alone, there were several moments when I questioned whether or not I would actually make it, like I would actually survive, um, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and yet here I am. And those are that, I won't say that, that is reason for me to be thankful and grateful. Um, Perhaps someday I will be able to fully articulate my experiences of this past 12 to 16 months. And again, there was a time when I would have carried guilt for having taken this last or 12 to 16 months to process through, especially since even 12 to 16 months later, I know that I'm still smack dab in the middle of becoming, right, whole. And it's really hard, I think, for some people on the outside to see and to understand, because they see Dr. Shazetta, they see Shazetta the prophet, they see um, Shazetta the preacher, right? Shazetta the former pastor, Shazetta the mom, Shazetta the wife, Shazetta the scholar, Shazetta the author, Shazetta the creative, right? You see all of these things that are a part of who I am, or that are gifts that are a part of my being. And so when you see those things, it's challenging to imagine a Shazetta who was broken, challenging to imagine a Shazetta who is not certain that she wants to or can live, a Shazetta who doesn't love herself enough to show up for herself, right? It's hard for people to imagine that because the grace of God, right? Um, and also life has often demanded that I package all of that um, by putting the visually aesthetic things, um, the perspective things, right? The positive perspective things at the forefront as the wrapping paper, covering up the very broken and incomplete thing on the inside. And this year it was like that wrapping paper was ripped off, and no matter how many times I tried to rewrap it, and no matter how much scotch tape I tried to put on it, and no matter how many bows I tried to put on it, it was like the paper just kept bursting. It was not even bursting, it was just disintegrating. It was no longer able to hide the core of me. And so again, this last 12 to 16 months in 2025 and 2025, right? So really October 24 up until this, it's been really tough. And there are still some days that are not amazing. There are still some days that are challenging. There are still many tears. There are still days when I have to remind myself to breathe, and that I have space, and I have grace, and I have community, and I have family, and I have village, and I have people who love me and people who are praying for me, and that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to need help, and it's okay to take a step back and to articulate that need for help and to advocate for the space that you need. And I'm grateful, right, for those realizations. I'm grateful for those tools in my toolbox, because there was a time in the not so distant past when those tools were tools that I reserved for giving to others. They were never tools that I made available to myself. They were tools that I handed out to others as they were navigating through what they were navigating through. But the prophet never had a prophecy for herself, my Lord. The preacher never had a revelatory word for herself. That somehow the grace that I extended to others as a representative of God's grace and God's mercy and God's love, somehow I never gave myself permission to extend that same grace and mercy and love to myself. And if I'm honest, it still makes me really sad, right? To think about that. To think about how long that's been true. I wish I'd known and understood more fully 5 years ago, or 10, or 2. What I understand now about my own value and my own worth, and I'm still learning that more and more each day, right? I wish I had believed that I am more than what I do well and what I do for others. I wish I'd been able to grasp that 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. I think it would have made a world of difference in terms of how I see life and how I show up for myself, and even ultimately for those that I love the most. So this is Vlogmas. Vlogmas Day 5 for some of you, Vlogmas Day 1 for me. I hope that you will come along for this journey as I do my year in review and set my intentions for living the well life in 2026. I love y'all. Take good care.